You're welcome. Do I need to sign in?
No, this is just for the.
Okay.
Hello, how are you? Are you a reporter?
Yes.
And from what area?
I'm just a student journalist. I go to Columbia University.
Okay, I'm Mercedes.
Hi.
I'm part of the press office.
Okay.
What are you covering today?
Just the meeting. Just like
For what purpose?
it's just for my class. Like it's an assignment.
Hi, how are you? Good, how are you?
New York.
So, who's in New York now? Shannon?
That's
that?
Jonette.
Josette? Okay. Okay, so no board members at this point.
You in New York.
We'll wait a couple minutes, because I think Aaron and Blanca are scheduled to be here, right?
Yeah.
So let's just,
Blanca didn't reply, but Erin did.
okay, so we'll wait, it's, yeah. There's always leeway.
And it's all potentially.
Yeah. Jenna will have to.
New York, I think you're on mute. Did anyone hit mute on the screen?
Because we weren't there. That it's currently licensed. The context of the conversation that we had, right, is we're currently licensed, not applicants.
Bottom right.
The bottom right, you see a button that
Yes,
says.
but specific to the,
There's an issue with the one specific.
yeah, we'll talk about it more.
No,
Oh,
we can't hear you. It was working.
Yes.
We have,
I saw that.
yeah, yeah,
It's
nice,
official.
yeah, that's great.
They have the same thing, right?
Much better.
Yeah, but they're hitting one.
Right?
Is Laureate in the room? She should know how to unmute this. Okay, I'll give her a call.
Should be able to hit the green button in the bottom right of the white console.
She did. It was on earlier.
Either way, call Laureate, please.
So they were talking earlier.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
How are you? Good. It's getting nice outside. Yeah. I parked down on Dub and walked up. Yeah. Next week
It was
supposed to be.
super foggy out.
It was, yeah. No, that's cleared up. But it's supposed to be like 80 next week. Yeah. It's supposed to go into the 80s. It's like October, why not?
New York weather.
Right?
Laureate's calling in.
Okay, thank you.
I think she hears.
Just check your email, Heidi, see if Erin's having any kind of, did she notify?
Oh, yeah.
We'll get started momentarily. We're expecting another board member in Albany, so I just want to give a couple minutes.
The court recorder is asking that we please speak the names of the board members slowly and spell any common, uncommon names.
We will do that, but they should also have the agenda that has the names on it. That might be helpful.
I don't have an agenda.
Okay.
Well, right here.
Hi, Laureate. Can you hear us? Okay, we can't hear you.
Maybe try hanging up and calling back in.
You guys had sound earlier, I
No,
was told.
the word was itinerant, is it itinerant, is the word. Don't say that.
Did you search that word?
She's running late.
What's that?
That she was running late. She's like 6 minutes away.
IT.
Hi, can you hear me on your end? Hi. I just want to make sure that New York wasn't muted on
It
your
may
end.
take 6 minutes to get the audio working, so it works out well.
There you go.
I just want to make sure it wasn't muted on our end. If it's
Yeah.
not.
New York, will you try again to hit the green button for me, please?
They hung up. They're gonna call back in and see if. Oh no, they did not. Sorry.
There must not be a green button on the screen.
It's the same one as that.
Yeah, I seen her touch it. It
Oh,
was green.
so that's Buffalo. There's no one in Buffalo.
Yeah, I told her she could sign off.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who's out there, Carol?
Carol. She would shut it down at 10:45.
Okay.
Arrived.
That's reasonable. Is Lisa on our big screen? Is that who that is?
Yeah. It'll go small once someone's talking.
Okay.
These technical difficulties.
Hmm?
It was literally working when she walked in.
Can you hear us now?
Yes,
Yes, you can.
yay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Laureate.
You're welcome.
I think we're gonna wait a couple more minutes anyway because Aaron's on the agenda,
Okay.
so we'll wait.
Right, because that's something that allows them to go like people's homes and stuff.
Yeah, that also applies to
Right.
vehicle.
Is that a Steyer, is that just got?
Here,
Other one, bottom middle.
here.
Yes. Ernest is coming towards now, it's on your chair.
That's on what?
You're good now. No.
Sure.
Just when we can start, after we start. It's loud sometimes out there.
So you should be elevated.
What?
You should be on the other elevator.
Why?
You're the director.
No, John.
That was the-
When he told me that, I was just like, ugh. Sorry, man, just, get better. Just text me.
Broken. Your heart.
Lisa, you can go ahead and start the live stream
No
recording.
We had some technical difficulties anyway, so it was like a journey to get here, but I made it. Great.
I started the live stream when you told me to.
All right, thank you.
Give me a second, before we start. Okay. All right, you all set? Yeah. All right. Okay, we'll get started. Welcome everyone to the September 28th, 2023 meeting of the New York State Appearance Enhancement Advisory Committee. We'll call the meeting to order. Before we do roll call, I wanted to just introduce myself. I'm Jody DeLallo. I'm the Director of Division of Licensing Services. Michelle was not able to make it today, so I'm filling in. I'm not a board member, but I'm filling in, just going through the agenda on her behalf, so we can start with roll call now. We have two members in Albany, so go ahead.
Leanne Shape.
Leanne's here.
Aaron Maven.
Aaron's here. We have no board members in New York. And Michelle and Anthony have been excused, so we do not have a quorum. We have two members at this time. So, to begin, the first thing on the agenda is we'd like to thank Shirley Chang for her service on this board. She was appointed back in 2015, and we appreciate her contribution. At the same time, we do have a new member that was appointed. Unfortunately, she's not here at this meeting, but we'll let her introduce herself at the next meeting. Blanca Vidal is her name, so we welcome her to the board. That's always good news. We'll have to table the approval of the prior meeting summaries. Since we don't have a quorum, we'll table that for next meeting. So we'll get right into the department subcommittee reports, starting with the enforcement update. That's Jenna Berschmeyer.
Hi, good morning, everybody. So just to touch base on some stats, last time we met in April, I reported on our progress for the first quarter for our inspection program. At that time, we had conducted 473 inspections, with 113 of those having ventilation violations. And the ventilation is regarding the nail salons or hair salons with nail services that don't have the appropriate ventilation system installed. And so that ratio was about a 23% failure rate, which was a significant improvement from the prior October when we had talked. So for the second quarter, May through August, we have completed 916 inspections, with 144 of those having ventilation violations, which is about a 15% fail rate, which is about a 8% improvement from the first quarter, which is great to see. We're still handling our inspection tickets through the OTC process, opportunity to cure. So these individuals have the option to basically email us the corrections to these violations that are identified during the inspection. And if they cure those violations, the ticket is dismissed and it goes away, and they avoid having to pay any fines or go to a potential hearing. But not everyone takes advantage of that opportunity. So when I ran a report this morning, out of those 916 inspections, 181 were referred to hearing. 37 of the 181 were referred solely for no ventilation. So that means, 37 people didn't take advantage of working with us to try to get them into compliance. But that's only about 20% fail rate, basically. So it shows that it's working. People are looking to work with us and get into compliance if they haven't already, followed the regs, since this has been a thing for quite a few years now. And we're going to continue our inspection program through the end of 2023. We have a goal of completing 2,800 inspections statewide. And that's all I have to report on.
Jody, correct me if I'm wrong, but we had a conversation yesterday. Are we not referring to hearing all no vent violations now? Is that what Dave said?
I'm not sure what was the final outcome.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but could you tell me who was speaking, please?
John Goldman.
Well, and then the man that was speaking after you, please.
No, John Goldman was speaking after me. This is Jody DeLallo speaking right now.
Yes, and then there was a gentleman that asked a question.
No, that's me, John. That was me, John, Goldman, and prior to me was Jenna Berschwinger.
Yep, thank you.
B-E-R-S. Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead and spell that for me.
B-E-R-S-C-H. Winger, W-I-N-G-E-R.
Thank you.
Anyway, I'm almost certain that with the grandfathering expiring,
Yes.
that the decision was made, just to be accurate, the decision was made that when we cite nail shops not having the certificate or not having event cert either, that it is referred for discipline as opposed to the opportunity.
Yes, so I'm sorry, I misunderstood your original question. Yeah, there's the opportunity.
I just learned that yesterday,
Yes,
and so that's why
yes.
Jenna's information
I'm
was
sorry, I
inaccurate.
misunderstood your question. So yeah, that's my understanding as well. Yep.
So TS is over.
And that's just for ventilation.
Yeah.
But
Every other violation
The other
is still,
violations.
is still given the opportunity to cure.
Yep.
I think the attitude is the vent cert as requirement has been in place for so long, and there was so much opportunity given to come into compliance that there had to be an end, and it ended in October. Or no, excuse me, was it October of 22? Are we already coming up on the 1 year? Okay,
Mhm.
It was October of 22.
Yes. Any questions? Any questions? Okay. So next item is the processing report. That's Emily Lupe.
Good afternoon. Included in the materials you were provided, you will find license statistics for September of 2022 and September of 2023. The report breaks down the different license types. The numbers between the 2 years are fairly consistent, with the exception of nail specialty trainee and waxing temporary licenses. The numbers have increased. Overall, though, fairly consistent, within 10% or less change from year to year. And that concludes the processing report.
Are there any questions for Emily? Yeah, that's pretty straightforward. All right, great. Next item on the agenda, examination administration report, Shannon McGuire.
Hello. I'm enclosed in your meeting material were written exam practical statistics for January to June 2022 and 2023. The numbers overall have remained fairly consistent. There was a small decrease in the number of applicants taking the written exam in 2023. And I believe that's due to the social guidelines that were lifted in February 2022, which allowed us to clear up any backlog that we had. And then the next thing I wanted to mention is in October, we'll be opening a new natural hair practical exam site in Troy. We're going to be piloting that exam on October 18th, and then that will become one of our regular practical exam sites for natural hair.
Yeah.
We did it. That's great.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, any questions for Shannon? Okay. Next item, subcommittee updates, Heidi?
Good morning. The Natural Hairstyling Subcommittee had its first meeting on September 18th. There was a discussion on several topics, including the current curriculum and the regulatory process in adopting a new curriculum. The subcommittee will start with reviewing the current natural hairstyling curriculum and practical exam documents. They will be providing feedback and making recommendations. Also at the last meeting, Michelle introduced the idea of separating the esthetician's practices from the cosmetology scope. We will be forming a subcommittee to continue this conversation. Members of the board are interested, please contact me.
This is sounding really forward-moving here. Great. All right, thank you, Heidi. Okay, good. Actually, I do have a question, sorry. Is the next subcommittee meeting scheduled at this point, or waiting for
We're waiting.
responses?
We are
Okay.
waiting for responses, yes.
Okay, all right, good. Thanks. Okay, so under new business, we have lash tinting update. Dave Mossberg was on the meeting. However, Josette Rocco is in New York. She's going to speak on this on behalf of Dave. Good morning.
Good morning. So as you know, there's a new regulation that proposes to allow for eyelash and eyebrow tinting, because it was previously not allowed. So we've gone 2 public comments so far, both in support of the regulation. One is from the Associated Skincare Professionals and Associated Hair Professionals. They're in favor of the rule, and we got another rule from, I think, just a citizen expressing her support, because she said many have been doing this for many years. It would be greater risk to public safety if we don't allow for this rule. I guess less regulation, less safety. Yeah, that's it. Is there any questions? The public comment period ends October 30th.
Where do people go to make those public comments?
They email me, or they mail in a letter. That information's on our website, on the state register. My email address is on there.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you, Josette.
You're welcome.
Okay, last item under new business is mobile salon licenses. Erin.
Okay, so I would like to introduce an opportunity to create a mobile salon / barbershop / nail salon permit or license similar to a food truck. Places like California, Delaware, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Washington, Indiana, Montana, and more to come all offer this type of permit or license to mobilize one's business. Since COVID, our industry has changed and many professionals had to shift their business models. Being mobile is the future of our industry as it allows the professional to move around without having large overhead. It has been trying for many salons, including myself. I do believe this movement forward would open a door for more professionals to rebuild and grow their businesses and provide a more controlled environment against the spread of viruses. And I had a little link included, but I can't show it to the room. But yeah, they are mobilizing. It's happening.
So, okay, so this is a good conversation, I think, to have. We've had it internally ourselves, based on the agenda item. So I guess the first thing, I'm gonna put the hot spot on enforcement, to explain a little bit about the mobile capability now, kind of talk, I'm gonna let them talk about it, but I also think it definitely warrants dialogue and input from the board and from you, you're bringing this forth. And I think, I hate to say, oh, throw it into subcommittee, but I think it's important that we really hash out what this would look like, because some components of that are already allowed. And I'll let, I don't know, either Jenna or John kind of talk about that a little bit. I think in certain circumstances, that's already allowed, but there's maybe needs to be regulation, so that's where I think dialogue. But go ahead, John, at a high overview.
Well, I agree with you, it's certainly an up and coming, you see it more frequently, but we've seen it for years. There's kind of two remote practitioners. You have individuals who will go to nursing homes and hospitals, and obviously they're not in a shop, and so they're operating in a remote capacity, servicing those people who can't come to them. And also homes, shut-ins and so forth. I don't know if shut-ins is the right PC term. I think you know what I mean. And then the other, which is becoming more and more common, is in essence having a shop with a vehicle, a recreational vehicle or a van. And so both of these practices are permitted under regulation. There's a regulation that specifically speaks to remote operation. And really the only requirement that's in the reg is that the practitioner have a business license of their own at a fixed location. And that could be their home. It doesn't necessarily have to be an operating shop. It's really for the purposes of the maintenance of records. Or that they are employed by a shop, or they're an area renter within a shop. They're affiliated with a shop, again, because there would be, the concept being that there would be a regulated address for the maintenance of records. What the reg doesn't cover is equipment and facilities that would normally be required in a shop. There's several, not many, but there's several regulations that cover public bathrooms, hot and cold running water, and so forth and so on, which can be a challenge in a vehicle, of course. So, from an enforcement standpoint, we turn to our lawyers and say, well, we have a mobile shop. The owner of the van or the owner of the business has a shop license across town, et cetera. But for example, there's no bathroom. There's no bathroom in the van. And the reg is really silent to that. And so there's an interpretation that goes back many years prior to Dave Mossberg, but I believe he agrees with it, that says the mobile shop has to have the same requirements, facilities that a brick and mortar would have. But we also have to be reasonable because, how many bathrooms are you gonna find? Like a van, like a school bus, I think, we actually came across one here in a local municipality where it was a school bus that was converted to a nail salon. And of course, there was no bathroom. And so because the reg is silent to it, doesn't specifically address it, we can be a little bit flexible with our interpretation as to whether or not it's a problem or not. So I guess the issue is that the business itself as a subcategory is already embedded within the licensing law. It's permitted, it's addressed. I think what clarity has to come is those types of things, hot and cold running water, bathrooms, are they given a pass in a vehicle per se? In a hospital or a school, it's not a problem, obviously, because it's a building and they have those facilities. So it really is limited to mobile in the true sense of the word, vehicle in a van, in a vehicle, in an RV. And the ability or the lack thereof to have hot and cold running water, bathroom facilities. Is that a safety issue that has to be addressed in the reg?
Yeah, I think it is, because I also think that the ventilation system is also kind of bypassed with the way that the reg is written, and I think it's important that it's still a part of these, shops, because it's even a probably smaller confined space, and there needs to be a way that something could be utilized within these spaces. So I feel like there's.
Yeah, so I'm looking at this two possibilities. Do we bring it into the current licensure and to say if this, this is what's required? So I think the first thing we need to do is decide legally you know, and then of course practically, what we want to accomplish, and then there's two ways to do it, either bring it into the current licensure or separate it out. You know, if you separate it out, then you remove the ability to do it for the current, you know, for the one license and have to require that separate license to do it. Has this been a conversation, do you have a concept now that you've?
So from what I've seen from like my research in different states and different people with these, you know, mobile businesses, is they have running water. I have not seen any with a bathroom. And so, you know, ideally, you're gonna go drive to your client's house, right? You're gonna pull up in their driveway, or you're gonna pull up to the space that you're going to service. So you're not gonna be like on Front Street, you know, where the food trucks are, providing salon services. I think it's more of a curated experience, right? So it's just kind of elevating your client's experience, where it's like, okay, maybe you can't make it to the salon, and maybe I don't have a salon, but I have this vehicle, I can come to you. So I feel like it allows a better interaction with the client as well as the stylist, with just being able to get around. Because I know for me sometimes, you know, my time, right? I might be, I don't know, up north somewhere, and then maybe, you know, I can do clients there as well. So it allows the stylist to kind of spread around more and build a larger clientele and service more people with that experience. I think maybe just like something where, okay, you're gonna pull up to your client's house, they have a bathroom. That's the bathroom, you know, because ideally you can't have a bathroom unless you get like an RV or something that already has a pre-bathroom. And that's a possibility, but financially, you know, maybe that's something that somebody's going to evolve into. Maybe they only have a old, you know, UPS or FedEx truck or something, and they're remodeling it to accommodate their need, and they grow out of it, and then they get a larger vehicle. But I think, you know, creating a pathway or start in a conversation will allow this new set of businesses that are popping up everywhere, like everywhere. I was down in Baltimore recently at the harbor, and this woman had a whole braid business like sitting there, and people were just flocking to it, you know. And the beautiful thing about braids is all she needs is her hands and the braids and a chair, right? She doesn't need a sink, she doesn't need, because you don't need that. But for a stylist or a barber, I think, you know, and I've seen a lot of barbers have done this. There's one down in New York City. His is like clear, or maybe it's in California, I don't know, but it's somewhere. But it's like clear, and you can see him working, you know, and there's no bathroom. So I think we have to just kind of think, I understand the regulation standpoint. I agree with, you know, making sure people are able to use the bathroom, they have running water, because those things are necessary, especially regarding sanitation. But I think there's ways around the bathroom element, right? I do think that there needs to be running water, and that is a possibility, because you can get like a gallon, and then there's like a portable sink type of thing that you can get hot and cold running water. That's not an issue. I think the bathroom is kind of like, you know, if there's somewhere, I'm sure they would be, okay, there's a bathroom in this vicinity. But I think the biggest part for me was also just like, where are they allowed to be, right? How food truck needs a permit to be parked somewhere. These businesses may, you know, get bothered by the police. And I know down in New York City that's happened with different, you know, truck businesses that they've had in the cannabis space, but that's another thing. But it's just they're there. So we just need to be able to give them the permission to be there, because they're gonna do it regardless.
So the permission to be there, I don't know, I'm not law enforcement, but I mean, us giving them a license to be mobile isn't necessarily going to give them permission to be at a certain
And that's the
place. So but wouldn't the permit be a local permit? It wouldn't be a permit from us.
Give me an
Okay, so
example right across the river here in Rensselaer, the one I was referring to. And in that instance, it's a small city, but the zoning department, building department, I don't know what department it was, all they wanted to make sure is that from the state perspective, because the industry is regulated by the state,
Exactly.
that they were squared away. And we ultimately, and that the challenge was with that particular application was that the vehicle did not have running water. No, excuse me, the vehicle did not have a bathroom.
Okay.
It was the bathroom issue. And because it's not specifically addressed in the remote locations, nor does it specifically say you must have all of the same, it's just a common sense kind of thing. So if the brick and mortar is required to have hot, cold running water in a bathroom, and that you would make the same application to a remote. But it doesn't say that in the remote reg, it's silent. So anyway, our council gave us the green light to go ahead and issue the license, even though we knew it didn't have a bathroom.
Yeah.
So that's the flexibility because it's silent on it. But Joe, you're right, it's a local decision as to whether or not you can set up the business at this corner, that corner, and so forth.
Well, again, you run into, I mean, from a salon owner's brick and mortar perspective, yeah, it should be, it needs to be fair to the people that do have a brick or mortar, because if I have to provide all these things, which is overhead, which is cost. And again, that could fall back to what I discussed last time in booth renters licenses. Then you run into the issue of people, one, how are you gonna know where they are to inspect, where you always know where I am to inspect me. So that's gonna be a challenge. Two, again, how's it being reported? Because again, it's a disadvantage to brick and mortar stores, along with people, that are commissioned salons, of not having, these people that are out there, and again, that's gotten the federal government involved as far as giving out student loans to cosmetology schools, and this is gonna close down a lot of cosmetology schools if they do that.
I do wanna just add to that, so I hear what you're saying, but on another side, right, you as a brick and mortar, you can expand your business into a mobile salon, right? And you can go to different spaces and offer different services that maybe, you can't offer with your brick and mortar, and you'll be able to have a larger reach. So I do understand what you mean, but we have to think future forward and where we're going. Right now, the retail space in the world is really like, upside down. A lot of people are closing their businesses and are changing the landscape of what an actual brick and mortar looks like. Like, it may be the future, it may not, but we have to be able to accommodate the future. The future is digital, the future is here, and we have to be able to somehow integrate those two things, right? Because otherwise, we're gonna get left behind, and all the other states that are implementing these, licenses, permits for mobile salons and movement are going to continue to move forward. And then you may find that people that do have brick and mortars are like, okay, well, I want a mobile salon, so I'm going to move out of New York State and go and open up a mobile salon in this state. So there's so many different vantage points from the whole thing. So I think definitely a conversation and what that would look like. But I do understand what you mean.
Right, but there's really nothing that I can't do in a brick and mortar that somebody, other than going to them, which is still allowed based on if it's not a mobile vehicle, I mean, you could send a stylist, they can go to a hospital, they can go to a nursing home, they can go to a house.
I mean, yes,
But you know what I mean? So it's just you're not doing it, you're doing it there,
Yeah.
not in a mobile vehicle. So
And
if somebody's
then
gonna have a
there's
mobile vehicle as brick and mortar, I mean,
Right.
the regulations should be pretty similar.
They should, but maybe not, because sometimes things have to change, right? And if you think about this in the space of, okay, you have a mobile salon, maybe there are people that have brick and mortar, but hey, I can't afford this brick and mortar anymore, but I can afford this mobile salon. So I think it allows people flexibility without being, put into a debt or some type of experience that is overwhelming, or that they just have to close down, period. Maybe this is an out for someone. So I think we have to just kind of look at it from all angles, in the space of growth and
I'm not saying just allow it, but again, the regulations should be there because they're there for a reason, they're there to protect the consumer.
So then maybe what could happen is, okay, if you do add the bathroom aspect, you can say you must be this amount of feet from a bathroom, something like that, where you're going to be near a bathroom.
I'd be interested to see what California, you mentioned a few states.
Yeah,
Do you mind mentioning that again?
Yeah, so that was.
Because again, depending on how their regulations
Because,
are written.
it's what model are they
residents,
using,
yeah.
Exactly,
Yeah.
so it's California, Delaware, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Washington, Indiana, Montana. Those are the ones that I found. And I can
Okay.
send this to you also.
Sure, yeah.
So they have specific licenses for
They have
remote
specific
practice?
licenses.
So they're
called-
separate, one's the
Yes, it's called
cosmetology,
a mobile salon,
mobile salon.
yes, or barbershop, depending on the state. But
Yeah.
yes, and they have all of the
Yeah, because Pennsylvania in itself does not
the
allow booth
language.
renting.
What'd you say?
Pennsylvania in itself does not allow booth renting.
Oh, no, they don't.
Yeah.
They don't. But they have all the language there, so we can kind of cross and see
So they
what
are
works and what's not.
One thing I'll point out, since, you're so knee deep into this, just for your knowledge,
Yeah.
is that in the barbering law, it's itinerant barbers are
And again,
specifically
it's
prohibited.
different. You said the what?
In the barbering law,
Uh-huh.
I mean, that's outside of this board, or whatever, but I'm just pointing out for your information, that there's a specific, I don't know whether it's a statute or a reg that specifically prohibits itinerant barbers, meaning mobile barbers.
Yeah.
So from the barbering world, that would have to be repealed.
So, and that is something actually.
So
I
I'm
have a
sorry to
barber-
interrupt.
Sorry. I know.
There's several conversations going on and I can't get them all.
Okay.
My apologies.
I just want to respond to you. There was a barber that reached out to me a few years ago, and he has a mobile salon in New York City. And so I forwarded his letter to the state because he wanted to expand. And then they told him it was obviously not legal, like you said. So that is the part, is amending that if that's possible.
It's a good example of the craziness of things. Why is it illegal here and it's permitted here when it's
I don't know, but he already had the business, and it's like, you know.
So I think, in my opinion, chime in, but I think the first thing you do is to talk to legal staff, and I wouldn't put Josette on the spot here, of course. Yeah, to answer questions, but I think, you know, outside this meeting, the first place to start is with Dave, because we can see what's in statute and what's in regulation. Because as we all know, the statutes are a little more complicated. And there needs to be, you know, sponsorship, and that has to go through, you know, getting sponsors and having that pass. So that's the first thing, we can have Dave kind of research what would happen. So before we even kind of spin our wheels, but simultaneously, I think we can look at kind of the licensing structure of other states, maybe focus on one state, just to get an idea of how they do it. And if this is something that we want to at least explore, I think there's different ways we could do it.
Okay, how does it work? And I don't know if they're licensed or not, but I know I know the person actually, she has a mobile dog grooming business. And she has a van that she does it.
Yeah, I don't know.
Are they licensed, or are they?
I don't know, that I don't know. I mean, they're not licensed by us. I don't
Well,
know.
our statute specifically says humans.
Right.
Not by us, they're not licensed. They may be licensed by somebody, but that's a good idea to kind of see what
Yeah, see what
structure, because
structures.
there's,
If there's already
you know, brick
structure
and
in your state,
mortar
right?
and,
If,
yeah.
if they're licensed at all, it would be on the local level, I'd bet a paycheck. It's not a state level license.
Okay.
The
Yeah.
vehicles that they have, you usually hook up to your own water supply if they come to your house, you know,
Right,
portable,
yeah.
so
Right.
you have a way.
Of getting the water, yeah.
Cause
And
to
they don't
not
really get
having
bathroom.
water, like to me, I would think, you know, what if somebody gets injured? Like you have to have, I would think, some sort of water supply.
Yeah.
No, 100% the water.
Yeah, okay.
I think
Unless
that
it's
So it's
was,
not
like
to
you
be-
said, unless it's like natural hairstyling, you
Yeah.
know, or something like that, the braiding, you can pull up at
Yeah.
a festival or something.
Yeah.
So you may have to be specific, right? Like, so Baltimore, or Maryland, I should say, this young woman had this van. And so I'm interested in just kind of, you know, learning more about, because I've been like following this for a while, because
Yeah.
for myself, I would like to get a mobile salon, but I want to get the, what is it there? The vintage one, it has a bathroom. You know, but I know there are some people that rehab the
Yes.
vans,
I've
right?
seen them.
Right.
For
and-
Wasn't
different
there just
reasons, a lot of
something
times for
In
food.
the paper or on the news,
Yes,
like local,
yes,
about
there
a
was.
nail?
that was the
Yes.
one I'm referring to,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, and so it got approved, which is great, right?
Well, but I want to point out to you, the one thing, I didn't specifically ask the question, but my sense when we came to legal with this was the water was not negotiable, but the bathroom was, we had some flexibility with the lack of the bathroom, but the water,
And there was
because
ventilation.
this shop has some sort of water source, that it
Okay.
was,
And there's ventilation
nails,
for
they
that,
don't wash
because it
the
was
hands.
nails.
well, but you know, the ventilation system requirement is very specific and very robust.
Yeah.
I can't imagine, Jenna, did you tell me that within the vent statute, it specifically is only mandated with a brick and mortar?
Brick and mortar,
So
yeah,
the vent statute actually excludes remote from the vent requirement, which I don't know if that was whether that was thought out very well,
think it was.
because as Jenna said, it would be exponentially more dangerous in
definitely think it
a
would
closed
be.
vehicle than it would be in a building,
Yeah.
so.
Just like with a food truck, right? They have to have that thing on the top to be able to ventilate.
Right.
So
Right.
that's what I envision, is something that's going to allow that circulation, heating, cooling, you know,
It's
monitoring.
really all about air movement,
Yeah,
so there's a
exactly.
certain square feet of air movement, so it just would have to be a very robust system.
And in those situations, in that particular one you're talking about, what is the location? Is it
Like
a
she used her home
a
as her
home
license location.
And that's where business records are kept?
Correct.
So MSD requirements and all that still the same?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But the one thing I wanted to point out to you, and we really have when we get complaints against mobile shops, of course, the question is, where are they? How are we gonna go and get them? But I would imagine, I may be incorrect, but I would imagine the states that have a setup, that they're required to list where
Their
they are set up, so therefore they can be. That would be, that's really the only benefit I can think of when it comes to remote practice, is that we wouldn't be, because normally what we do is we go on Facebook or whatever and try to, because that's where they advertise. They say, today I'm gonna be here, tomorrow I'm gonna be there, like food trucks do.
Yeah.
So it's really not that big of a problem, but I would imagine the licensing scheme would include a list of where they go. But maybe not, because if they're going to multiple homes, if they have clients that go to their
I was
homes.
gonna say, yeah, if they got
I don't
homes, that's, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're not gonna list that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a very gray area.
Yes. So that being said, yeah, I think this is, it's something to explore. So we'll start there. And then, we'll have some more information for the next meeting. Where is it? Action item here. Maybe we'll have a little more information by the next meeting. And, we'll have, Michelle will be here and hopefully our other board members will be here, and then there could be another, and then we can get some volunteers for a subcommittee. I know at this point there's 5 board members and this will be the third subcommittee, so it's a lot going on, but it's exciting, so.
And I can send over all the information I have on the mobile
Yeah,
salon.
you have Heidi's email address,
Yes,
so if you
yes.
send it to Heidi and then she can forward it and we can,
Okay.
So, all right, good stuff. Thank you. All right, anything else then? All right, so we have the next item is public comment period. There are no public attendees here in Albany. Is there anyone in New York that would like to present comment to the board? No? I'll take that as a no, so we'll close public comment period, thank you. Last thing on the agenda is the adjournment. Thank you, everyone, this is a great meeting, thank you.
Thank you. That's it.
Yeah. So I wasn't at the last meeting, so.
Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, it's welcome.
Hi.
And I'm very excited, Shannon, I'm very excited about the proper name holders, very nice.
Professionals.
Yeah.
You'll have the whole